All right, this is the video talking about the settings around multi-currency in QuickBooks Online Advanced. So I'm going to talk about the settings, and I'm going to make a plea for not turning this on. So a couple things. So here you choose what is your base currency, what is your home currency. And what this means is that when you run a profit and loss report or you run a balance sheet, which currency do you need to report in? Okay, so what's my base currency? Then we have the multi-currency here if we're going to turn it on or off. Now there are going to be lots of warnings in here, but let me give you a couple more. So first of all, multi-currency, why do we need it? The only time I tell clients that they need to turn on multi-currency is if they truly have multiple bank accounts in different currencies. That's one, right? So you have a bank account with US dollars, and then you have a separate bank account with Canadian dollars, right, or rupees, or whatever it is. But that type of currency is held in a separate bank account. Okay. A lot of times people come in here and they turn on multi-currency because they say, well, my customer that I sell to is in Canada. So they need to know in Canadian dollars how much to pay me, right? And then what happens is we have an exchange rate. So we create an invoice. We create it so it reflects Canadian dollars, and at that point that we create that invoice, we have an exchange rate of what that translates to into US dollars, right? But when that customer decides to pay us, they're going to pay us in Canadian dollars or US dollars because we don't know what they have in their system, right? They might run things in US dollars even though they're in Canada. They decide to pay us in whichever currency that they're going to spit out. Our bank, though, is going to receive it in US dollars, let's say. And we have no ability to know what the exchange rate will be at the moment that they decide to pay us, because exchange rates are changing every second, right? And we have no capacity to tell the bank, hey, this is the exchange rate you need to use. Not possible. We have probably no capacity to tell our customer, when I billed you, right, it was $150 Canadian and it translates to this much US dollars. But when you paid me, it was $150 Canadian and only translated to, so originally $150 translates to $100 US, right? Let's just say. Now, 150 Canadian dollars is translating to $90 US when they paid us. Okay. That customer is going to say, I don't care. I paid you $150 Canadian. You deal with it, most likely, right? So the customer is going to dictate, or the vendor, whoever, right? Then when we're paying them, or the bank's going to dictate, and that's usually it. So we actually don't need to track multi-currency in our system because we're not the ones dictating what the exchange rate's going to be and if people are going to pay us the difference if the exchange rate is not in our favor. Right? Instead, we should just have a process for how to deal with short payments or overpayments based on exchange rates at the point when somebody pays us. Okay. It's very rare that a customer actually demands to say, what do you owe me in Canadian, or what do I owe you in Canadian dollars? Don't give me an invoice in US dollars. It's very, very rare that happens. So unless you have a separate bank account that truly has different currencies in that other bank account, most likely don't turn it on. Here's my little pitch. Okay, so let's pretend we're going to turn it on. I'm not going to in my file, but once I turn it on, look what happens. Intuit even is saying, are you sure? Because once you turn this on, you can't turn it off. There is no undo. And you now have to deal with currency exchange rates on everything in your file. Okay, once you turn it on, you can't change your home currency. So you better choose the right one when you're setting this up. There will be extra fields and columns added into your QuickBooks file, and you cannot remove them once it's turned on. And then there are also some features that are no longer available to you because of the currency exchange rate. Things like the bill tracker, right? You can't use some of the features in QuickBooks because those features aren't set up to be used with multi-currency. So they just go away. You just can't open them. And you have to check I understand. Probably 95% of the time I talk to clients, 95% of the time I talk to clients who have turned on multi-currency, they're trying to turn it off at some point, or I talk them out of it. So if you have questions on it before you go making modifications in your file that you cannot undo, call somebody. Call us here at Fourlane, and we'll help you decide. All right, those are the preferences around currency in QuickBooks Online Advanced.